A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. Schopenhauer's words still echo across centuries, whispering something most people are too afraid to hear. Solitude. The very word makes many uneasy. To them, it is emptiness, silence, a void. But to a rare few, it is power. I want you to picture someone, not a philosopher in an old dusty library, but a man named Elias in the year 1879. Elias lived in a small house on the edge of the Black Forest. He rarely spoke to anyone, not because he hated people, but because the noise of the world never offered him peace. Neighbors whispered that he was strange, dangerous even, and yet his eyes carried a stillness, a depth, as if he knew something they did not. Those who can dwell in solitude long enough change. They are no longer pulled by the tides of gossip, trends, or approval. They see through the illusions others are still chasing. And here's the strange thing. The world feels uneasy around them, not because they are violent, but because they cannot be manipulated. Pause for a moment. Think about that. A person who does not crave approval cannot be bribed by praise, and a person who does not fear being alone cannot be controlled by isolation. That's why solitude makes people dangerous. Dangerous to lies, dangerous to manipulation, dangerous to any system that thrives on control. Elias understood what Schopenhauer taught. The average person seeks company not because they enjoy it, but because they cannot bear their own thoughts. Yet those who master solitude are free from this prison. The crowd sees a threat in such a person, even if that person walks quietly, speaks softly, and harms no one. Because when you have built your life upon noise, silence feels like an earthquake. Stay with me. Because the truth about solitude, as Schopenhauer understood it, is far deeper than most dare to imagine. And if you want more revelations that the world is too busy to notice, make sure you subscribe and return here often. Years after Elias passed away, his journals were discovered. Inside were no maps to treasure, no confessions, only page after page of thoughts, deep, unsettling, piercing thoughts about life, power, and freedom. One entry read, "The man who needs nothing is the man kings cannot buy." And suddenly, the unease people felt around him made sense. Schopenhauer would have smiled at that line, because solitude strips away the illusions the world uses to keep people in line. In solitude, you see the desperate cycle. People running for status, approval, comfort, and how quickly all of it turns to dust. Beethoven saw it too. Deaf, alone, and misunderstood, yet out of that silence came music that still shakes the soul. Nietzsche walked alone through the Swiss Alps, where the air was thin but his thoughts were sharp. His solitude made his ideas untamed, uncontrollable. And Emily Dickinson rarely left her home, yet created worlds within a handful of words, worlds still alive today. This is why solitude unnerves society, because those who thrive in it no longer play the game. It's the same across cultures, even across faiths. Buddha left the palace walls and sat in silence under a tree until he saw through the illusions of the world. The prophets of the Bible, Moses, Elijah, even Jesus, all withdrew into the wilderness. Each returned changed, stronger, and utterly unshakable. In Islam, the Prophet Muhammad would spend nights alone in the cave of Hira, seeking truth beyond the noise of Mecca. Every tradition has understood it. When a person endures solitude, they meet themselves. And when they meet themselves, they cannot be controlled the same way again. But here's the twist that makes them dangerous. They don't need to rebel. They don't need to shout. Their very existence is rebellion enough, because they live by their own compass, and others feel it. That's why Elias, alone in the Black Forest, unsettled his neighbors, not because he harmed them, but because his freedom revealed their chains. They didn't understand that their discomfort wasn't about him, it was about themselves. Think of your own life for a moment. How much of it is driven by fear of being left out, fear of silence, fear of being unseen? And what would happen if all of that fear disappeared? This is the heart of Schopenhauer's warning. Society thrives on people who cannot bear to be alone, because a person who can handle solitude can think for themselves, and that is a dangerous kind of freedom. If this speaks to you, take a moment, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and stay close. Because the deeper we go, the more the noise of the world will try to pull you back. Schopenhauer was not romantic about life. He saw it clearly, full of struggle, vanity, and endless grasping. But he also saw that in solitude, there is a doorway, not to escape the world, but to walk through it without being consumed by it. This is why the dangerous person is so calm. They are not at war with the world because the world has no claim over them. Elias understood this in his final years. He wrote, "The forest is quiet, but it is not empty. The world calls it loneliness. I call it freedom. Freedom, that's what makes solitude powerful. Not the absence of people, but the absence of need. And when you no longer need the approval of the crowd, you are free to live by truth, not fear. The world may never celebrate such people. It may even misunderstand them, but history remembers them because their stillness leaves ripples that last far beyond their time. So if solitude unsettles you, perhaps it is not your enemy. Perhaps it is the teacher you've been avoiding. And perhaps, like Schopenhauer, like Beethoven, like Elias, you will find that the silence you fear most is the very place you finally meet yourself. If this resonates with you, stay connected here. There are truths the world will never tell you, but together, in this quiet space, we can uncover them. Subscribe, follow, and keep walking this path, because in a noisy world, the rarest thing of all is the sound of your own soul.